What are your thoughts on Bud's role in this series and how that should or will affect his future with the team?
Yeah, I mean, anytime the Bucks lose, literally any game, Bucks Twitter is going to say, it's Bud's fault for sure. It's Bud still drop defense, everything else. Even if they switch half the game, it always ends up that way. I did think this series though, he didn't do a good job. I think there's two different things going on. There's the Bud stuff that he always does that is frustrating to fans and sometimes analysts, but it's a philosophy decision. Not calling the timeout at the end of overtime, which a lot of people are upset about, that is something they do. Like they like to flow against a non-set defense. They like that advantage. I wasn't even that upset about that. Maybe you can call it when there's 2 seconds left and Grayson Allen has the pun intended deer in headlights look at the top of the key. He should have never touched
Hmm.
the ball in that situation. But the idea of we'll let Chris and Giannis go and create against a non-set defense, whatever. Even if you disagree, that is just a decision, right? Not doubling more is something that they usually do. That kind of thing. Again, I think by games 4 or 5, you just have to throw that out and try more. But I digress. Not calling the timeout at the end of the fourth quarter, though, that's just malpractice. I mean, there's 0.5 or 6 seconds left. You have a shot. I mean, there's no offensive goaltending in an out of bounds play like that. You can
Hmm.
have Chris Middleton basically shoot for the rim and Brooke Lopez drop it in. And if it works, you win the game. If it doesn't work, there's no negative repercussion. There's no
Hmm.
reason to not do that. And his answer after the game basically being, we should have and we didn't. It's just not good enough in that moment. I mean, the way the Bucks looked, does it look like if they had won game 5, they're going to bounce back and win a championship? Maybe not, but that's still better than being eliminated. They still just needed to be better. So I think a combination of, the lack of offensive specific plays, the play random thing. They like to just flow into actions. They like to trust their primaries. A mix of their primaries just not being good enough, and that system it makes them prone to those runs. And we saw that at the end of game 4 and 5. They let Drew and Chris and Giannis try to do all this. They don't set up plays. The offense gets gummed down. Bud doesn't call timeouts in those situations. Bud didn't really call timeouts at all in game 5. And that leads to Miami going on this huge run to come back and win the game. So I do think that while maybe in some sense he's a little misunderstood as a coach, a little bit, I also think his shortcomings were magnified and he made additional mistakes. And I think it would be really hard to justify bringing him back because these are similar mistakes that have cost the Bucks in other postseasons. I think they need an offensive-minded head coach to get the most out of this team, even if there's some changes to the roster. I just think we've seen them be good enough defensively. They just need to be better offensively, and I don't know if you can trust Bud to do that after these last 4 postseason runs or 5,
Are there
whatever.
names floating around about who does Bucks Twitter want to be the next head coach if Bud does
I,
indeed get
there,
fired?
there's one. I think it's just like a shiny toy thing because he's newly available. Nick Nurse, they're excited about.
Sure.
Um, I yelled about it on the pod, not even as like a tactical thing. Just I don't know why the fact that he has his own branded hats bothers me. I don't know what it is about it, but I just don't.
Yeah.
But I did say if
Yeah.
he's the coach and they win a title, I'll buy the hat. So
Yeah.
I'm full of it if it works.
Hmm.
I've been looking a bit today. I really like Jordy Fernandez, current Kings assistant coach. He's been with the Cavs and before. Really seems like a gifted offensive mind and is doing some help defensively actually right now with the Kings, who they're not a great defensive team, but they're defending the Warriors pretty well in the games that really matter. So I'd be interested in that. But truthfully, I'm not tied to any specific name. I just want a good process where they interview several candidates and find one that they're convinced can unlock Giannis more offensively. So I mean, it may sound ridiculous. He had what 30 and 20 or whatever in game 5, but the offense just gets gummed down too much and it shouldn't. And I actually think Giannis may be underrated offensively because of the system that he's been playing in. And I would just love for him to be unlocked more and, bully matchups more, get him moving on and off ball more, get everything else moving more. I think this team could be much better offensively in the playoffs. So, whether it's Fernandez or Nurse or someone else, I really just want someone who's got a vision of a revamped offense for Milwaukee. I think that's their number one important thing in terms of a coaching hire this summer.